Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. This is Jane Wolfsky. I'm your partner for bookkeeping and operational support. And I have Irene Sky, who is a partner at Sky University, and she is your employment partner. So today we're going to talk about time off for employees. And that's a very interesting topic. And this is the topic that gets a lot of questions. And I know that we'll go back to Irene for a lot of guidance on this. But I know that when we talk with our clients, a lot of times we speak about paid time off in New York. And I know that PTO is not really required by law in New York. When an employee and an employer discuss their time off, this is, let's say, most people that I deal with, they usually give between 7 to 14 days time off. It could go more, but when we track it, we usually put it in our payroll system provider, and we use accrued time off, and then we see how much time is being taken at a time. So when the employee is being dismissed or let go or they leave, most of the time employers are required to pay unearned unused vacation time unless it's stated otherwise. I know we had a situation with Irene with a mutual client, and I've asked her about the time off, and I got a very interesting response. So I would like to actually for Irene to tell us this situation and tell us exactly what is required with this time off, because even I didn't know this. So Irene.
Thank you so much. Yes, so it was very interesting when doing this research in this specific situation because, of course, the first thing that a business owner would think is if I give 7 days of PTO, they can be considered personal days or vacation days. If I give these days, these are the 7 days an employee is going to take. And if they take more days than that, they're just simply not compensated for those days. They would be considered unpaid days. And what happens afterwards if they take too many, if it's excessive, of course, we start discussing, well, what is the status of this employee then with the company? But we had a very interesting situation because this belief really is for wage earners and hourly wage earners in the company. However, salaried employees may have different class in terms of how this time off, if it's above what the company provides, is given. For example, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA, an employee must be paid for a full week in which they perform any work. However, there is a deduction if they take a full absence, but if they take a full absence for sickness or for disability, that will not count. So in our situation, in our case, we had an employee who was above any allotted PTO time, and that included sick time, personal time, vacation time, and so on. And they were a salaried employee. They were earning one rate. It didn't matter how many hours they worked. And every single week, they would take off between 1 or 2 days. And they would cite a pre-existing medical condition, which the company was aware of. And so naturally, the company believed that they could just deduct the time. So they would give a value to the day and deduct that time from the salary. However, the FLSA says that because it is due to a illness or disability, and because the employee worked the other days that week, the employee must be compensated for the entire week. So even in a situation where the employee works only one day, is above all of their vacation and PTO and sick time, they work one day for the week and they're salaried, and their absence for the remaining 4 days was due to an illness or disability, they actually must be paid for the entire week. And it would be improper under the FLSA to deduct any time from them that was taken away for that time off. And that was very interesting to see. And so, of course, we had to amend all of the policies. And of course, that was very interesting for our client to realize in this specific situation, because, of course, that wasn't just that one employee that was going to be affected. And definitely a lot of decisions that are made, whether or not, for example, a company would benefit then from having their employees as hourly employees. and whether certain departments are better to be put on an hourly versus salary. And we did do initially a podcast on hourly versus salary and the benefits of each. And so that's when we really get back to that question, because in a situation like this, you certainly want to make sure that as much as you want to adhere to policies and make it fair for everybody else, you certainly do not want to run afoul of any possible discrimination laws, especially if it's a pre-existing condition, a sickness or an illness or a disability. So you have to be very, very careful when providing any warning notices in situations like this. And at the same time, of course, the company would also be required to make sure that they compensate for the full week, while they might be in a situation where they have to hire temporary help as well and pay double. And so certainly this requires a lot of review of policies and what could be done. And if a company finds themselves in this situation, and if this specific example or anything similar to it brought up any questions of what you might be doing in your own business, please feel free to reach out to either Jane or I. We're available, and we can certainly help to discuss the various options, because this is just one example, and there, of course, would be a need to really review the specific circumstances and see what would be the best outcome for the company. Thank you very much, everyone.
Irene, thank you. This was very informative. Thanks.